FKA Twit. Why would you fucking name yourself FK? What does that mean? I don't even know who this person. I've heard her name, FKA Twit. That doesn't even roll off the tongue right. Jesus Christ, have a real name. News bits. Those little stories that aren't quite big enough for their own story, but we still want to talk about them. Don't want to forget about them. We want to give them a little bit of show them a little bit of love. So this week's first little story, let's talk about a quick video game story. We're going to talk about the Xbox. For those Xbox users out there, I know people say, well, that's all you ever talk. I don't. Or all I ever talk about positively is the Xbox. That's not true. But they have just had a lot more positive press lately. And PlayStation not so much. But this isn't about PlayStation. This is solely about Xbox and something they've changed that is actually a very good thing. For those Series users and Xbox One users, I believe, there's been an issue. And I've experienced this. I'm more of a digital player when it comes to the new consoles. I don't have that many physical media discs, which is weird because I'm a collector as well. And I have all these old video games over here. But I haven't been collecting physical media on newer systems in quite a while. If you have a physical disc and you're unable to be online, if you're offline, people have had issues playing their physical disc games. That's been a big point of contention. And that's been an issue on multiple consoles, but especially on the Xbox, with their ecosystem. And that came from the Xbox One and it has gone over to the Xbox Series consoles. Well, they have fixed that. If you have a physical copy of a game, you can play it with being totally offline. Now, I have a very small amount of physical copies of games. I have experienced this. I think someone gave my daughter one of the Call of Duties, and she was wanting to play zombies. She put it in one day, and for whatever reason, we weren't online at that point, and she was unable to play it. It wouldn't load up. It kept on like erroring out. And there was another time that we weren't online, physical copy of a game or an online bought game, and it did work. So it was very hit or miss. But you shouldn't have to deal with that. You buy something, you buy two things, they go together, it should work. Well, now it will. Apparently, they fixed that. I don't have all the ins and outs about it, but if that's been a bane of your existence and you're an Xbox user, it's no longer a bitching point, and it is done, and that's a good thing. That's a move in the right direction. They've been making a lot of moves in the right direction, so I'm happy that because this has been an old problem, that they finally got this taken care of. Nick, I know that you had a PlayStation 5. I don't think you do anymore, and as far as Xbox, I know you're a Game Pass user, but do you have a Xbox of any sort?
No, I mean, I've had everything but the Series X or S, just because the fact that I can play most of them on PC, I just didn't feel like I needed one of those consoles. So no, I haven't had those yet.
I gotcha. I mean, I have a Series X, but yeah, you're right. Having most, if not everything, on PC does make it kind of convenient. But I like sitting in my living room playing them sometimes too.
No, yeah. I agree.
But yeah, I think this is a good thing. I don't think anybody could make this out to be a negative. I'm sure there's somebody out there, because the haters on both sides, they tend to do that. But there's no negative about this. Not really a lot to talk about with it. It's just, hey, good thing. If you've had that problem in the past, it's no longer an issue. So good on them.
That's good.
That
improvements are always a good thing.
Yeah, any improvements is always good. But all right, so let's jump back into the world of movies and or TV shows, and let's talk real quick about Vince Gilligan. We talked about Mr. Gilligan, who is the creator of Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, some other stuff. Those, of course, are his biggest ones, especially Breaking Bad. We reported a couple of weeks ago that his next show he is working on and shopping around right now is going to be a sci-fi show. Not Sci-Fi Channel, but a science fiction story. That'd be great if it was sci-fi. But
yeah, right.
Well, he has landed a place that it's going to be, and that would be Apple TV. Vince Gilligan's next series lands on Apple TV with Better Call Saul actress Rhea Seehorn. Now, I've never watched Better Call Saul. I loved Breaking Bad, but I just haven't. I'll probably binge watch Better Call Saul because I know it just ended. I heard it's fantastic. So I don't know who that one is.
You have no idea.
But there's not like a lot more information about the show besides what we already knew, that it's a science fiction. It's gonna, a bit high concept, but it is not gonna be as science fiction as some things. It's gonna be more character driven. There's not gonna be an anti-hero this time, which his shows have been very big on anti-heroes. It's gonna be non-anti-hero in a sci-fi world, but it is still gonna deal heavily with characters. So that sounds interesting to me. And he also said he's willing to go back to the Breaking Bad world if this tanks. because he's got to make ends meet. But it's going to be coming to Apple TV. I don't have Apple TV, which I know it's not just Apple. It's a service now. It used to be an actual physical TV, and you had to have like that. I guess you had to have that for it. Now it's just like a streaming service, pretty much. I don't have that, and I know more people that don't have it than do. I don't know if this is a great. You don't really hear about a lot of things on Apple TV just blowing up the world.
I mean, except if you're me, because I talk about Apple TV a lot.
Yeah.
But well, but in general, no, it's a service that's only like $5 a month, so it's definitely worth it. And the two shows I'll recommend are, of course, Severance and of course Ted Lasso.
I do hear a lot about Ted Lasso. I didn't realize that was on Apple TV. So Ted Lasso, I hear a lot of people talk about. But beyond that, I don't hear people talk about, hey, let's Apple TV and chill for the night. It's just they just don't hear about it. So do you think this is a good move for him to put his show over there, or it sounds like it's good for Apple?
Yeah, it's definitely good for Apple. Vince Gilligan's one of the biggest creators right now. I mean, it's going to give him the freedom to do whatever he wants. He has carte blanche at this point because he's created, in essence, two of the greatest TV series of all time. So it's like Apple's like, we're going to give you all the money you want. What do you want to do? Tell us right now, if you want to create whatever you want to create. He's like, can I create a porn? Sure. What kind of porn do you want to create? But no, like a sci-fi show, I as long as it's not Ryan Murphy doing a sci-fi show, awesome. I hope it goes well for him. I hope he doesn't have to go to Breaking.
What's he doing?
American Horror Story and I think he did Glee. Maybe create Glee.
He didn't do
that. No. But like, there's another sci-fi show on Apple TV called For All Mankind, which is supposed to be really good. But I look at it this way: even if the show's terrible, please don't go back to Breaking Bad. You finish your story. You've done all your characters' conclusions. Better Call Saul, I didn't think would work, and actually worked better almost than Breaking Bad sometimes. But the series is done. Do whatever you want to do. You are in the same vein as like, any great creator. You're the Cheers of this world, where you can just do whatever the fuck you want now and just go do it. Just even if it fails, you have carte blanche for pretty much the rest of your life to do whatever the fuck you want. And I'm excited for this just for that reason. Rhea Seehorn was amazing in Better Call Saul.
He will. He already said it. If this tanks, he said, I got to make money, so I'll go back to the Breaking Bad universe. He might not do Breaking Bad, but kind of like Better Call Saul did. So maybe he was joking, but he sounded like, I've got a backup plan if this don't work out. But Apple TV picking up whatever the show's going to be. Vince Gilligan's new sci-fi series. I'm interested because I really like Breaking Bad. Better Call Saul seems like it's going to be really good when I finally sit down and watch that. And everything he said about it sounds really cool. I might have to sign up for Apple TV. I'm not a big Apple fan. They burned me on the iPhone some years back, and I've said I wasn't going to go back, and I haven't, but we'll see. It is what it is. I mean, if I want to see the show, I might have to do that. Maybe this will bolster their subscription to where they can become an actual player in that market of streaming. That's what everybody wants to do. Let us know in the comments below what you think. Are you looking forward to Vince Gilligan's new show? And do you think Apple TV was the right place for him to go? Clearly, he did. They offered him the right amount of money. And I guess on Apple TV, he will have... I know Breaking Bad was able to show a lot, but it was still confined to television. They still had things they couldn't do. Apple TV's just kind of open season, isn't it? I mean, they don't. No,
have, outside of like showing actual murder and shit like that. I mean, they're pretty much.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like they can show R-rated content, if you will.
Yeah, they can show tits and ass and say curse words and everything you imagine they'll do. So
a good dose of the old ultra violence. All right, well, so I don't know if that bodes well for a show or not, but hey, at least we know there's no, like you said, no limitations there. But let us know in the comments below if you guys are looking forward to Vince Gilligan's new show on Apple TV, and if you are an Apple TV user, what do you think of Apple TV? Because I am not one, and I hear Nick talk about it all the time, so I might have to check it out. You told me that show Severance. I need to check that out. So
that's great,
maybe one day I'll make the jump. Okie dokie. Pierce Brosnan. We all like Pierce Brosnan. How can you not like Pierce Brosnan? He's like,
Yeah.
you know, that old uncle. Not like a granddad, not like a dad. He's like that cool uncle you got. He's just super dapper and suave. He was James Bond. And that's what we're going to talk about. His James Bond days. Not his James Bond days, but his relation to James Bond. As many of you know, Daniel Craig is no longer James Bond. He bowed out in No Time to Die in more ways than once. We're not going to talk about that. More ways than one. But they're looking for a new Bond, and lots of people are talking about who will play the next James Bond. That's what's on the tip of everybody's mouth or tongue right now, apparently. We've already talked about Idris Elba, and he said, I ain't the guy. That's been a long-running rumor, and he just put the kibosh on that and said, no, don't want to do it. So the Broccoli siblings, which is the name of the people that own the IP and control it, have been talking about it quite a bit this week, and they're pretty much saying, well, there's a lot of things that need to happen before we decide who the next James Bond's going to be. One of those things is where the show's going to, or the movies are going to go. They want to have a roadmap for 10 years as to like what our plan is, what direction, what are the stories basically going to be, who the overarching villain is going to be, what direction. They just want to know, have a better idea of what direction they're going before they start casting things. And I think that's a good idea, because it wouldn't make much sense to, here's our new James Bond, you'll get a movie in like 10 years or 5 years or whatever, because it sounds like we're a few years away from them finalizing anything and making a movie. Well, on that subject, though, they did talk about when they do go to look for their actual Bond, their new Bond, they do want to keep him decidedly male, whatever that means, which, I mean, he has always been a male character, and there's been people saying they want a female James Bond and all this and that, you know, is whatever. However you feel about that, they said they're keeping him decidedly male, as they said. And some other things that they want to retain the spirit of Bond. So what a lot of news outlets have been doing is asking previous Bonds, what do you think, that are still around, who do you think should be James Bond? And in an interview for, I guess, a movie that he has, or show or something he's recently been in, Pierce Brosnan, someone said to him, hey, who do you think should be the next James Bond? And he said, I don't care. He said, I don't know, nor do I give a shit. He said that he has fond memories of playing the character, but really, he's kept up on it loosely. He's watched a few of the movies here or there. Based on his comments, it sounds like he didn't really like No Time to Die, but he did like Skyfall. And he likes Daniel Craig. But beyond that, he was like, I don't give a shit. Who am I? I played James Bond decades ago. Whoever they choose. He said, I assume they'll choose the right person when they get there. And, you know, that's all there is really to it. I love that. I love that the guy's just like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Why are you asking me? I'm not even related to this thing anymore.
The best things I've ever heard from actors say, they're like, dude, it was just a fucking role, man. It's just like, you know, Pierce Brosnan is now playing Dr. Fate in Black Adam. After he gets finished playing that role, he ain't gonna give a shit about DC. It's like, you know,
like
who
Michael
was it that yeah, doesn't even know he's in a fucking Marvel movie. It's like, I think people, I know they're reaching for headlines because it's a new Bond character. Pierce Brosnan played Bond, but these actors, you see in Daniel Craig's face when he talks about it, it's like, they paid me a shit ton of money. I played a character. Yes, he's popular, but I move on with my career. Now I'm being fucking paid $100 million to play, you know, Agatha Christie or Hercule Poirot type characters. It's just like, why? When I go to talk to Pierce Brosnan, I'm not going to talk about fucking Bond. I'm going to ask him like about his new movie or some shit, because that's all he's there to talk about. You don't give a shit about Bond. Yes, he played Bond and they paid him a lot of money, but it's like, you know, if you were to ask like Roger Moore, maybe he'd care, but Pierce Brosnan's like, it was a role. I did some shitty fucking Bond movies and I moved on with my life. And you guys,
I was the Bond who had BMWs instead of Aston Martin.
Yeah, I was the one that had like you know, invincibility and fucking whatever the hell else he had in that Day After Die Another Day movie. But it just it frustrates me because I know they're reaching for headlines, but it's just like, talk about Black Adam, talk about what he's currently doing, because he's what he's being paid for. If like it's something that he truly believes in or something that truly like passionate about, you know, he'll talk about that. But most of the time when you go into these interview processes, most of the time they're like, don't even ask him about that because he don't give a shit. I don't understand why they do this. And
understandably so. After that Black Adam trailer, I don't think anybody gives a shit about Black Adam, but
Well,
Ooh.
don't get me started on that. Yeah, don't get me started on that garbage.
Might be a great movie. I don't know, but I wasn't. I saw the trailer. I was like, I like the Rock.
Tired of them talking about it.
But hey, yeah, there's the I'm not even gonna sit here and speculate on who should or will or could be James Bond. I don't.
Yeah, no one gives a shit.
Who
Like
knows?
whoever plays James Bond next, they're gonna shit on and bitch about, and then everybody's gonna love him. So fuck it. Who gives a shit?
That's how it usually works. But
well, fucking Kathy Bates in there.
Kathy Bates is Jane Bond, but no, what was her name from Misery? Oh shit, I can't.
Annie Wilkes.
Annie Bond.
Actually, put Randy Quaid in there in his like crazy days.
Yes,
beard.
Crazy Bond. Yeah, do something different. Just tear light the world on fire. But anyway, let us know in the comments below what you think about Pierce Brosnan's comments on James Bond, that he just does not give a shit. I mean, he wasn't mean about it. He was because he had more comments, and he was.
Yeah,
but that was
a
his
very
initial comment.
Yeah.
I don't care. But then he was like, I mean, I played that part. I don't know. I'm not involved in that. So I wish whoever they pick well.
I wish more people would be honest. I don't give a fuck. Be Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Why are you asking me those fucking questions?
Or like, what was his, Michael Keaton on the whole Batgirl thing. He was like, it's a business decision, and I assume it was a good one. On the Batgirl thing, and yeah. Anyway, let us know what you think about that, and if you have an idea who you think the next James Bond should be, I guess drop that in the comments below as well for us to discuss. Alrighty, speaking of, yep, no, that doesn't, there's no way to segue into this next one. Told you guys I was underprepared this week, but The Crow! The movie The Crow. Brandon Lee, the movie that he unfortunately passed away on. That was actually really good, but I still till this day, and I enjoy The Crow, I like The Crow, but I still till this day say that movie is as popular as it is and famous as it is because of all that surrounded it, of him dying in the making of it. It was still a good film. I think that it probably still would have been fairly successful, but I do not think it would have had the legacy it has had Brandon Lee not passed away on it. Now, depended on what he would have ended up being able to do moving forward, but that's what really cemented that movie as a classic and gave it its staying power. Well, they're remaking it. They've been talking about remaking The fucking Crow.
Yeah.
For a long time. Jason Momoa is going to be the Crow at one point. You can even find pictures of him with the makeup and everything, and all that. So this is nothing new, but apparently it's finally getting the go-ahead. And it will we don't know anything about it as far as story-wise. We just know it is a remake or a retelling of the original story. And it's going to be, they have a director and a couple of actors. It looks like the director will be Snow White and the Huntsman's director Rupert Sanders, and Bill Skarsgård is going to be taking on the role of Eric Draven, aka the Crow. While FKA Twigs, isn't that the chick that Shia LaBeouf supposedly was beaten on or did something to? They were involved, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, who knows?
Miss Twigs, I feel like FKA is not her real first name, but Miss Twigs and Danny Houston will play prominent roles in the feature. I'm sorry. That's really all we got on it right now. It sounds like it is going to be some type of remake or redo or something of the original film, maybe the comic. It's a redo. It's not a sequel, in other words. But it is actually coming. They are working on it right now. They have people involved and all that. So we're finally getting this Crow. Do we care, Nick? Is this a good thing? Bill Skarsgård, Pennywise, is going to be the Crow. He's putting the makeup on again. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I like that original Crow movie. It's perfectly all right. It kind of sucks the whole history behind it, but it's like, I don't know. I mean, Bill Skarsgård, he was good in Barbarian. He was good as It. I don't fucking. Rupert Sanders sucks as a director, by the way. He's the one that actually, I think, with Kristen Stewart, the whole big fiasco with him. But
what fiasco with Kristen Stewart? I'm not familiar with that. I saw the Huntsman movie.
Yeah, it was something to do with like she ended up dating him. It broke up a marriage or some shit. I don't know.
Oh, kind of like the Don't Worry, Darling.
Yeah, exactly.
But did she spit on him later on? That's the question.
I don't know, maybe.
That's the question now, whether some people have been spit on still. Anyway. Well, I'm going to hot take real quick. I'm going to say Snow White and the Huntsman. I didn't hate it. I've only seen it once.
It's better than that sequel or prequel or whatever it was.
Well, I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was like, oh man, this is amazing. But for what it was, I was like, that's fine. I was entertained with that. I won't watch it again, but fine. It was solid. Sounds like you didn't really care for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was fine. I mean, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. The sequel, though, or the prequel, or whatever it was. Anyways,
I don't even remember that. I know it happened.
It was purely with Chris Hemsworth. It was called The Huntsman or some shit.
I don't really know anything else the guy's done. I'm sure he's done other things, but I like The Crow. I think The Crow's a good. I really enjoyed The Crow. I enjoyed it when it came out. I still stand by what I said a minute ago. It's so big because of, that dark cloud over it, of course, unfortunately. I think Brandon Lee did a good job in it. It was a solid movie. I don't think we'd be getting a remake if it didn't, have that cloud over it and have that success. But since we are getting a remake, it is a neat story. It's a revenge tale. Everybody loves revenge tales. I mean, yeah, when it gets there, when I think Bill Skarsgård does a good job in the things he's in. I'll be interested to see. I'm not super excited about this as of now, but we'll see when we get our first trailer, which is probably a ways away right now because, they haven't even started filming anything. So, sure, let us know, though. Are you super hyped for The Crow remake with Pennywise? And how you think it's going to be? And FKA Twit. Why would you fucking name yourself FK? What does that mean? I don't even know who this person. I've heard her name. I don't even know who she is. I just know she was linked to Shia LaBeouf. FKA Twit. That doesn't even roll off the tongue right. Jesus Christ. Have a real name. Anyway, The Crow. Let us know what you think. And if you're looking forward to this remake coming soon. I will say that Jason Momoa looked pretty cool as The Crow in those little pictures they did of him. But whatever. Alrighty. Brandon Cronenberg. Baby Cronenberg.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a new movie coming out. Infinity Pool is what it's called.
Yep.
And it has been rated. It's done. It's cut. It is ready to release. I don't have a release date for it. Well, I guess they don't either after this story. But it has received its MPAA rating, and that would be the dreaded NC-17, aka Rated X. Actually, those are two different ratings, but NC-17 pretty much took over the Rated X rating. So, what to do? Well, if you've seen Baby Cronenberg's previous efforts, especially Possessor, you'll know he's not afraid to put a movie out there with some NC-17 stuff. I think Possessor actually came out as unrated. There was an R-rated cut and then the unrated version. But it looks like the studio, which is, I think, A24? Is it A20? Not A24. Who is producing this thing? This is what happens when I'm not prepared. Or Studio Canal, something like that. It's one of those types of studios. They are planning on not cutting. They don't want to cut the movie. They don't want to cut stuff out of it. They want to appeal the rating to the MPAA. So as of right now, they're appealing it. Now, apparently the MPAA has been on kind of a spree of giving things. Well, they say a spree of giving things NC-17 because there was Blonde before this and this. I don't know if that considers it a spree. Unless there's some other stuff I'm not aware of, but they're calling it a spree. But it sounds like people are just putting shit out there with lots of TNA and, dicks wagging on screen and stuff like that. But his apparently was given that for graphic violence and sexual content. Probably the graphic violence, because that motherfucker can make some graphic-ass violence. If you saw Possessor, I am not squeamish in the slightest, but there were scenes in that movie. Look at my review of it. And it was one of the best movies of that year. I may have said it was the best. There were scenes in that movie that I looked away. I was just kind of, oh man, because in the unrated version, they are fucking graphic, but like real, like stomach churning. There's some tough shit to see in that fucking movie, man. That's a fantastic movie. Check it out. Unrated version. So I have it probably deserves the NC-17, honestly, if it's anything like Possessor. But apparently Infinity Pool stars Pearl's star Mia Goth, and harbors dark secrets behind its wall. Wait a minute. Oops. And Alexander Skarsgård, I skipped a line, and tells the story of a rich couple who vacation in a luxury resort that harbors dark secrets beyond its walls. Whatever that means. But Mia Goth is just being in all the weird horror movies this year. So good for her. Anyway, I'm looking forward to this. I hope they are able to, I hope either A, they're able to appeal it and get it dropped down to an R rating, or B, they just say fuck it and release it as NC-17. But I don't think this is a streaming movie. This is coming to theaters. So a lot of theaters will not play NC-17 movies. So that could be that's kind of a death sentence.
I tried to find Blonde playing in any theater, and the only one that plays like a 45-minute drive from here.
Yeah, like our house.
Like, I'll just wait for. Yeah,
AMC,
I'll
Regal, they're not gonna play it if it's NC-17. Yeah. It's kind of like with Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, and MA, right? Or not MA, AO games. They just won't do it, which I think is bullshit. Just fucking put it out there. I mean, that's I don't know. I feel like that's hobbling creativity to a degree, but whatever. Some people, I guess, would just say it's keeping smut out of the use of America. But yeah, I hope, my point is this, I hope I'm able to see this movie in its intended version. I don't want to get a nerfed version of it. And that's why I was happy to see that Possessor actually released both versions, unrated and rated. Because that's what's weird about these chains. They will not release an NC-17 related movie, or NC-17 rated movie, but I have seen them release unrated movies. What the fuck? Maybe not wide release, but I have seen theaters like the major chains have an unrated version of a movie come out, which just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it could be NC-17. I mean, it could be G, but who knows? Anyway, let us know if you're excited about Brandon Cronenberg's upcoming Infinity Pool, his newest film, and also, do you want to see some of that NC-17 goodness? Because chances are it's not just about sexuality. It's mostly fucking graphic violence. Because Jesus Christ, that dude can film some graphic violence. It was great, but oh my God, it'll turn your stomach, and I got a fucking ironclad stomach. Damn, that movie was tough. Watch it. Possessor. Fucking amazing movie. All right, on to our last story of the day. This one, sad-ish, I guess. But apparently it's already happened, and we didn't know it. Some people did. James Earl Jones, iconic actor. One of the things he's most iconic for is he is the voice of Darth Vader. Lord Vader. He is the voice of him. Has been since his inception, back in the day. Well, he is retiring, stepping away from voicing Darth Vader. I know. Oh no! I won't watch anything else Star Wars with Darth Vader in it. Well, apparently he'd already done this because he did not. Yeah. My understanding, he did not do the voice of Darth Vader in Star Wars Obi-Wan. He had already stepped away from the role, and they used modulated AI or something to do his voice. I don't know. But so you've already experienced, well, if you keep up with more recent Star Wars things with Darth Vader in it, you've already experienced that. Me, myself, personally, I'm like, okay, I mean, yeah, that sucks. He does have a very distinct voice, and he is Darth Vader. But, I mean, the guy's 91 years old. It had to happen eventually. I'm okay with it. I actually think they should just step away from this fucking character and move on to new stories in Star Wars. But that's for another story, I guess. How about you, Nick? Do you think this is just the end of all things, or is it just okay? Well, good for him.
Well, Jacob. Yeah. Let's give a second for James Earl Jones actually wanting to finish out his life, not doing Darth Vader. So, anyways, yeah, no, I don't give a shit about this. It's the guy did Darth Vader. He is in the same camp as Pierce Brosnan. He's gonna walk away from this role, and he's just gonna be like, you know what, I did a thing for 40 years. I'm done. You know, he's a guy that did it. He's a guy that has a career that's pretty storied, and him not being in Star Wars anymore might not be the worst thing ever. You know, let the guy celebrate 3 more years of his life before he dies, because you know we all die like 94, 95. It seems like it's like you know John Williams stepping away from Star Wars himself too. It's like the guy's 90 years old. Like, how much more do you want out of this guy? I mean, he's already doing the last Indiana Jones movie that's coming out. It's like, the guy's done, man. He don't care. He did his thing. He paid his dues. He's done. And the whole modulation thing is like, cool. They found a way to bring Darth Vader back again, which I don't care about. So yeah, that's how I do.
Yeah, how about, do you think that they should even, I don't want to go on to it for a long time, but do you think that they should move the fuck on from the Skywalkers altogether?
Yes.
If you're going to keep doing Star Wars, do something new.
Yeah, even Andor's reaching. Like, I love the first 3 episodes of Andor, but that's even reaching into the well.
Yeah.
Do something different. Go to the past. Like, one of my favorite stories of Star Wars was the Darth Bane trilogy that they completely unretconned. And it was about the formation of the Sith by this guy named Darth Bane. And there was some really cool things. It takes place like millennia before this whole nonsense happened in the Star Wars universe. And it was cool. It was different. Yes, there were Jedi and Sith, but it really kind of formed like how good these stories can be. And if you read any of the Star Wars stories, some of the stuff that didn't deal with any of the Skywalkers was some of the best material. And I don't need another Darth.
Was anyone named Skywalker?
No. God damn. Like there was somebody. I remember somebody talking about this, and they're like, it feels like the Star Wars universe is turned into the royal family, where only thing you can talk about is like 4 or 5 individual characters, and everybody else doesn't matter. It's like the whole Star Wars 1313 game. Yes, it was going to be Boba Fett, but it was going to focus on a place you've never seen before, unless you've seen the Clone Wars, and like, you know, the Old Republic, or anything that dealt with like stuff you've never seen before. That's why, you know, as much as I hated the prequels, at least it dealt with places you've never been before. But here it's like, I don't want to see Darth Vader anymore. The guy's done his...
You mentioned Andor. Andor is doing very well. People are universally saying it's good, or they're enjoying it more than the other stuff. And it is purposely, my understanding, at least up to this point, been member berry free. There's been a few little things, but it's trying to stay away from all that, and people are loving it, or they're really liking it.
It's leading into Rogue One, which is a prequel to the Star Wars original movie.
Well, yeah,
so
there's that.
I'm not saying it's not good, and at least it's trying to be something different, but we already know Andor. Like, give us something different.
Yeah, like you said, go back to like the KOTOR days or something like that. Or hey, go forward, and don't go forward with fucking Skywalker. Just move forward and tell it. This is a whole universe. It's a galaxy far, far away. Tell us some other fucking stories. That's why Rian Johnson's whole thing about where I think they were gonna go was like with the kids, all the orphans and stuff, and having Jedi powers and that spark and all that. I thought that was an interesting idea. It was something different. Maybe, I mean, according to the reports, he may still do that. I don't know, but
how does a giant galaxy feel so fucking small? Even Star Trek
feels so small. But either way, whether you want Skywalkers to remain in the stories moving forward or not, this Skywalker, in voice at least, will not, because James Earl Jones said, "I'm done," which he had every right to be, and he's been done. You've already experienced it if you saw Star Wars Obi-Wan, because he was not involved in that. So, but guess bow our heads in silence for a few minutes for James Earl Jones. He did a fantastic job as Lord Vader for the first 3 movies, and I don't think was he in? I think he did the voice in Rogue One, is my understanding.
Yeah, he did one of them. Yeah,
he did Rogue One, and he really hasn't done. I mean, he did those, and I'm sure he did some other little side things here or there, but for the most part, he has not. Darth Vader has not been, and character-wise, through Anakin and the prequels, but he hasn't been involved in a lot since the original series, and then Rogue One, and of course this Obi-Wan show. But he wasn't with Obi-Wan, so let us know what you think. Are you sad that James Earl Jones will no longer be Lord Vader? And do you think this just destroys the series? It's done. And while you're in there, let us know, what direction do you think Star Wars should go, by the way? Stay with the Skywalkers, move on. I feel like most people are going to say, move the fuck on. Alrighty, that's all we got for today's news bits, which actually went on a lot longer than I planned. But let us know in those comments below. Are you looking forward to seeing Avatar, the first one, and Way of the Water? Vince Gilligan's next show, landing on Apple TV. Do you think that's a good idea? Pierce Bronson says, I don't give a shit who the hell James Bond is. The Crow reboot. Do we care? Brandon Cronenberg, NC-17 being a naughty boy, and of course James Earl Jones no longer being Lord Vader. Let us know in the comments below.